that should just be kept with you because it's not really facts.
Regardless of what he said to them, he also told me that he was playing this whole time, but now I'm taking it serious.
Oh, okay. So I'm just saying, you was doing all this Fritz talk, and I was gonna let you do it, but you wasn't telling the rest of the story.
I really am confused as to why the boys decided on who to send. I think it's because they felt Cooley was a bit inappropriate with how she was going very hard at Eddie, but at the same time she would have kept Eddie on the show. He wouldn't have been vulnerable. And then with Rocky, sadly I don't know. I think she gave friendly vibes to people, and I don't understand how Khalil didn't fight for her, given the fact that they had a strong connection on day one. Or maybe guys are initially attracted to her, and then once they sort of get to know her, they check out. And then Sahara, I need to know who she knows. I need to know who she knows, because she's very combative with all the guys that she sits down with. Her conversation style is very poor, and so I don't understand why they continue to keep her, because she doesn't take constructive feedback. And so why is she there? Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Ready to Love, Season 10, Episode 6. I completely forgot that we had that dumping coming up. I really actually forgot about it. So we have the three girls, obviously, Cooley, Rocky, and Sahara. They're the ones that were waiting to sort of have their decision revealed as to who was going home. They were going to dump two ladies because there were more ladies than there were men. Is anyone surprised that Rocky and Cooley went home? No, I think they're keeping Sahara for the theatrics, for the dramatics, for the toxicity. That's why they're keeping her there, because it doesn't make sense. Her throwing a fit at the only person who was saving her doesn't make sense, because that's the only person who's fighting for her. And I give it to Cam for telling her that, how are you fighting with me when I'm the only person who's been fighting for you? I don't know. I really don't know. And I don't know how much longer she can last. So you have, the rest of the girls be dumped. And I think the problem for Cooley was she was too in your face with her sexiness. And with Rocky, she was too much of a mate, like a friend. And this is the reason why the guys decided to dump her. Do I think the guys had a say on who went home in regards Sahara? No. I think production at the end of the day made the final call on who was going to be dumped. Anyway, the girls meet up with Tommy in the vault, and they are informed that this week they get to dump one guy who they feel is not ready to love. In that sense, they will have to date their second pick. So everyone is sort of now questioning, who's my second pick? And it's going to be an eye-opener to see what happens, because I think at the end of the day, some people are going to be dumped, and they're going to be shocked that they're dumped. I hope Naeem is not dumped, because I really want him to stay. Personally, I'm curious as to who arranged the dates, because I feel like production arranged the dates and it wasn't actually the girls who picked who they wanted to go on a date with. Because first up, we have Hussein and Diona. They go on a date and they go horseback riding. She picks the bigger horse because she says, Hussein is not comfortable sort of controlling the little horse that he has. So definitely he wouldn't have been able to cope with a bigger horse. And then they sit down for a conversation, and this is when things go left. This is when things went left. Because at the end of the day, they start talking. And Diona, I don't know whether she notices it, but she has a way of talking to people that sort of may come across as patronizing or as seeing people as less than, because they get into this conversation about, what would you do if you're at work and your partner calls you? And she sort of says that, work is work. She has this sort of church and state mentality in the sense that when she's at work, she's at work. When she's at home, she's at home. And she's saying, because of my job, I can't just be picking up my phone and calling you. And I don't know what triggered Hussein, because then Hussein was like, he says, what if your husband is a vice president of an organization and he works in an office and you're saying you're a firefighter, and he turns around and he tells you that your job is not as important as mine because my job is more senior. And so that triggered her, because she said, this is not the person that I was getting before, so I don't get why he's behaving this way. And I can see how he was triggered. The same way she triggered Cam, in the sense that she spoke to Cam as though because he was a junior at work, he was less than. And I hope, if nothing else, Diona can actually see how she talks to people and how she comes across. They both agreed that they're not each other's person, which even a blind man could see that they're not each other's person. I think he's more laid back and she is more sort of wants an alpha male. And I don't know where she's going to get that, because none of the guys on the show, sadly, is going to be able to sort of cope with her and sort of meet her expectations. So I don't know. Even Khalil, that she's saying is the first pick, I don't know whether he'll be able to cope with her. Tim goes on a date with Tay, and this is what I wish Dion could do. I wish she could take a page out of Tay's book, because at the end of the day, Tay owned up to the fact that she prejudged this man. The moment she found out he had 5 kids, she thought, oh my God, I'm not going to do anything with him. We're done. And I think realizing that he's actually got his own gym and hearing stories about him and his children has changed her opinion about him. The flirty behavior, how comfortable they were around one another was the sweetest thing ever. Because at the end of the day, I know that, with her number one pick, Cisco, he's got 2 children. I think they're with the same mother. And with Naheem, it seems they are with 3 different mothers. But it depends on someone's emotional intelligence and sort of sense of responsibility. If he's able to look after, his children and is able to be in this happy space and keep you comfortable and happy, then I'm good. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be loved. We want someone who will make us comfortable, happy, feel adored, cherished. So I love this for them. That was the sweetest date ever. Next, we had Shanice go on a date with Cisco. And I've said this before, I will say it again. The way Shanice dresses is a bit too provocative. It makes you question whether she's looking for actually a committed relationship, a long-term relationship, or whether she's just there to flirt and, have her fun and then go home. So she takes Cisco on a date. Cisco is her number 2, her number 1 is Fritz, and so she says she's taking him on a date. They get there, they sit down, and then Fritz finds out that they have to, bear it all in order for them to body paint. I think this was a bit too much. At least he had his shorts on. For her to appear to be stark naked, I don't know whether she actually had her pants on, because she was saying that it sounds like she's one of those nudists. She says in her house, clothes are optional, and it's like, girl, I'm not coming to your house. I'm not coming to your house. Where will I sit? Where you sat with your bare buttocks? No. How do I know where else you sat in your household? No, thank you. I think it was a bit inappropriate, given the fact that it's being recorded for TV, and this man, whoever you leave with, their family is going to see it. How will they feel about you exposing yourself on TV, all in the name of, oh, I'm a body positive person? You can be body positive without exposing yourself. Cisco seemed to be on board with it, although he was respectful. I don't know how Tia is going to feel when she finds out about this. I know she's going to blow a gasket. And also, you had, Shanice say, I don't know how our partners will feel, but this has brought us a lot closer. And it's like, yeah, it's brought you closer in the sense that you want to go home and hit it, but I don't think it's brought you closer in an emotional sense. Next up is Rose. Rose goes on a date with Hussein. Hussein is very popular, isn't it? I think he really likes Rose because he actually brought her roses, obviously her namesake, and they actually had a very, very intimate conversation that was non-confrontational. It was completely sort of 180 from what he had with Dion. He spoke about growing up in a group home, and having problems with his family because of that. And so it was really cute that he opened up, because it allowed Rose to tell him that she lived in foster care until she was 10. And so they had the most kindest, sweetest conversation. And so I don't get when people like Shanice say, oh, going on this, nude painting is bringing you closer. This was more intimate. It was closer. It was getting to know your partner. And I wish, Shanice had considered such a date, because it really was endearing. it gave you an insight of what Rose and Hussein, their relationship could be. Obviously, her first pick is Cam, so I love that for her. I think she's better off with Cam. Hussein, I don't know whether he's found his person yet in the experience. I don't think so. I think he still needs to do a lot of work and a lot of soul searching. But at the moment, I don't think, maybe Rose, if she decides to dump Cam, but I think at the moment he doesn't have his own person, and I don't know whether the girls, all of them, are keeping him as a second option. Next is Angie. Angie goes on a date with Eddie. With Angie and Eddie, what happened is Kuli first appeared to have a connection with Eddie. So Angie was sort of cheering for them. And then eventually over time, Eddie saw some qualities that he liked in Angie. So they meet up for a date. He brought her a present because she gave him a present last time for his son. So he brought her some books, which was sweet. And then they started talking and Eddie just dug himself into a hole. He's going to regret letting go of Kuli. Because at the end of the day, he's talking about wanting a wife who's going to be cooking and cleaning for him, and it's like, boy, not this age, you're going to have to share those tasks. They talk about exes, and you have Angie say she's still close friends with her exes. He doesn't like that, so he's sort of talking about the fact that she will have to cut her friends off, and Angie's saying, no, I can't cut my friends off just because, especially there's one friend that I can't cut off. And it's like, I get where he's coming from, but you can't sort of come with the rule book that you need to explain to her why you wouldn't be comfortable with her being friends with her ex. Because at the end of the day, if they tried being intimate, it didn't work out, and they're now friends, what's to stop them from trying again? That could be your concern. So I wish he had been more articulate with what he said, because you could tell she immediately got the ick the more he spoke. Rose had her second day with Fritz, and for me, I didn't even understand the argument. Anyway, he brought her a flower. I think production just handed him a flower and told him to give it to her because of how he was carrying it. And then they went go-kart racing. She did very well. She won over him. They sat down for a conversation, which left me side-eyeing both of them for various reasons. So they were talking about deal breakers, and they spoke about children. And so, she's explained the same thing to Hussein, that she's had multiple miscarriages. So she wants to know, how would he feel about adoption? And he's saying, because of the advancement in sciences and medicine, he's open to surrogacy. Oh, she kicks off. She doesn't want anyone to carry her child. She doesn't want to use a surrogate. She'd rather adopt. And he is saying he wants a biological child because it makes sense for her to want to adopt because she's already got a biological child. And for him, he's saying, what about me? I want to carry my own child. And she sees that as a red flag, and I don't get it. I sort of agree with him when he says, if she's had miscarriages before and if there's a concern that she's going to continue, it's not safe for her to continue trying to be pregnant. In that case, it might be better to use a surrogate. That makes sense. I agree with him saying, he's open to adopting her son, that she has from a previous relationship. So what I don't sort of agree with is the fact that she is very, and I'm actually surprised that I'm fighting for Fritz because Fritz is the last person I would fight for. But I'm surprised that she's not flexible enough to realize that maybe he wants to procreate. Maybe he ask him how many kids does he want through surrogacy and see how it goes. I know there's a different bond between someone who carries the child and someone who just, gets to keep the child or gets to adopt the child or gets to take the child home. And so I think she should have been more flexible in that aspect. I think she should have asked him, if you are open to us using surrogacy, are you happy for us to adopt one child? That way we end up with 3, and then see what he says and then take it from there. She said they're not compatible. I think so. They're not compatible at all. Tay went on a date with Cisco. It was the cutest thing ever. They were both excited to see one another because they've really been each other's number one since the very start. The only problem came when she realized that he had no home he had no fixed abode, or he was living in a room or something, and he was still sort of trying to find a job that was more appropriate for him. So he was working on his career. So I like that she's she's actually explained to him that, yes, I had problems with this. I'm still a work in progress when it comes to that. But they also got deeper, and she explained her reasons, her fears, the fact that, he wants someone who will support him with his career. But she's saying, I don't want to support you to get to be the man that you want to be, and then you run away from me and leave me because I have abandonment issues from my dad abandoning me as a kid. They spoke about, it was really sweet. It was really sweet that they spoke about the future. Do you want to get married? I didn't hear them talk about children, though. I didn't hear that conversation. But it was cute to see the little kiss and see the intimacy. And the fact that Cisco in his confessional said that he is worried about what happened during his date with Shanice. I wish he had owned up. Because when she finds out, she's going to be devastated. Because she's going to find out at some point. Production is going to make sure that she finds out. And I wish he had actually told her, and then she could have processed the information from there. So you had Tommy meet up with the girls in the vault and, sort of discuss their dates with the guys, because they'd all had an opportunity to pick up to go on a date with their second pick. And I'm surprised that we didn't get to see people like Cam on the date. We didn't even get to see Sahara on her dates. So I don't know whether it was because they were just messy or whether the producers felt this was more appropriate. So she speaks about, Tay speaks about her date with Naeem, how amazing that was, and she didn't expect it, and also her date with Cisco. And then you have, Shanice talk about her date with Cisco and the fact that they went naked painting. And you can see that, Tay is feeling some type of way. She really is. And so she's questioning what actually happened on this date. And it's really sad. This is why I said at one point that I wish Cisco had told her the truth. Tommy then asks the girls to sort of call out the guys they're not feeling. Diona said Hussein, because obviously we saw the confrontation when they had their chat and about their prospective roles. She felt that, a firefighter is more important than a VP. And I think it depends on perspective. I think it depends on perspective. And I wish she had fully explained what happened. You had Rose defend him, because with Rose, they bonded on the fact that they both grew up in care. And so it's just a matter of seeing who they decide to send home. At least he was lucky. I think he was saved by that. Angie, she felt some type of way about Eddie, and Sahara also felt the same way. And for Eddie, his problem was when he went on his date with Angie. Angie really liked him, but him sort of explaining the wifely role to Angie is what put her off. And I don't think she sees a future with him. So sadly, Cooley's coming at him. Fritz had Sahara and Kiara going after him, and sort of Sahara was trying to get him sent home. She says he sent her a message trying to keep her sweet in the morning, and completely opposite of what he was saying in the vault. So for her, she wants him to go home. She spoke about poly life. You had Diona try to defend him, and when she realized that, oh my God, I'm out of my depth, she took a step back and allowed Shanice to step in, because Shanice's strongest link is with Fritz. So Shanice was trying to fight his battle, and it's like, I don't get it. I really don't. I think they're going to keep Fritz just for the drama. Anyway, the ladies are told to decide who to send home, and you have Rose meet up with Eddie, which is a surprise to Eddie because he's never been on a date with her, and then Fritz goes on a date with Sahara. I think they did that for mess. I think they're going to keep Fritz on because they know Fritz and Sahara will give them ratings, and they're going to send Eddie home because Eddie is very quiet and very laid back, and it seems he likes to enjoy himself. The ladies have a problem with his constant drinking, so I don't know how that's going to play out. I can't wait. Apparently it returns in the summer, so I will catch you in the continuation of the season. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 5. Bye guys.